Yeah.
We don't have like a set opening.
No. Maybe I guess we get fancy on that and have like ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
I guess we just introduce ourselves. We are the Black Sheep Gathering.
Ba.
I'm Vanessa. This is my co-host Afton over here.
Ba.
I'm gonna high five her.
Wait, I like want to pass you stuff now.
I know. Gosh darn.
I'm gonna pass you my phone.
Okay.
The case changed! Oh my god!
It's magic! Oh man.
Quarantine, man.
Quarantine. The dog is my best friend. Anyways.
Man,
okay, so today
though, like I'm just like, is this what it would be like to have two kids? Because you stop eating. You don't take her toy. That's her toy. Leave her toy alone. Stop licking his face.
and this is why I have one dog.
And then too, like eating, I posted on my Instagram story the other day because he will eat everything and then she won't eat anything, but then I'm like, Bali, eat. And then here comes Java. I'm like, no, you already ate. And then she thinks you're yelling at her, so she's like, I'm like, no, come back here and eat. And he's just like, me? I'm like, not you! I had to put him in his room. Shut the door. I'm like, Bali, please eat. Don't just lick the juice. Eat the food.
The food.
Gosh.
Lily will not eat unless I'm eating. So I can put her food down, but unless I'm sitting down and eating, she won't eat.
That's weird because all they want to do is stare at us while we eat, and I can't stand it. I have the problem with it. Justin has no issue with it whatsoever, but they're just like, and I'm like, get away from me. Get away from me now. Go.
I think because when I lived in Chicago, like it was just me in the apartment. It was just Lily and I. I didn't have John yet. And when I would get home from work, because I was a bartender, when I would get home, she would just be waiting for me all day. And then when I would get there, and the first thing I would do is sit down and eat. And I think that's when she was like, oh, it's time? Okay, I'm going to wait for you. Okay, let's do this. And she wouldn't eat until I got there.
I wish that they would do stuff like that, but Lord, no. And he's the worst too because he just starts drooling. It just sits there and it gets longer and longer. And I'm just like, ah.
Well, Lily begs a lot, so.
Yeah, I can't handle any of that. And then I can't handle, because before somebody trained them kind of on the sound of the plate and like the fork on the plate kind of thing when they were like scraping it into their bowl. So anytime like you got up and you had your plate and your fork kind of like clinking or something, they're like, we get scraps! We get scraps! Oh, we're going to get scraps! I'm like, no!
Well, anytime you're in the kitchen and you say, oops, she comes running like, oh, so that means something's on the floor. That means I dropped something. What do I got? What do I got?
Yeah, Bali's really bad about being in the kitchen and being like 6 centimeters away from you when you're cooking. So you just bump into her and she's just like, huh? What? Did you drop something? Are you going to drop something? It'd be really nice if you drop something. And then Java's just sitting there in the corner just staring at you with drool coming out of his face. I'm just like, I can't handle you guys. Oh my God.
Do they lay on your feet when you're at the stove cooking?
No. They'll both just sit there and just stare at you.
Lily will position herself between you and the oven because we have like one of those memory foam mats in front of the stovetop. So she'll lay on the mat and position herself between you and the oven so that like you accidentally kick her and then she looks at you like, oh, can I have some of the food that you're making? Or if you drop anything, she's like right there because she's underneath it. And I always have to yell at her like, dude, I can't cook when you're underneath me. Like I can't, you're right in the way.
Justin is so bad because he will reward them for not begging. But I'm like, you're defeating the whole purpose here. They're still getting human food. And he's like, yeah, but she wasn't looking at me. And I'm like, but you're still eating and she knows she might get something, so she's just going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get it. The struggle is real. I do this every day. John will say, okay, look who she's begging to. She's begging to you. I'm like, she's begging to me because you already gave her something under the table. Now she expects me to give her something. That's not happening.
Molly now has decided that the desk that we have, that's her little hiding spot. And it's very weird because she will always be under there. If Justin's like working on his laptop over there, she goes, I mean, she's not a small dog. So she goes, she wedges herself in between him and the chair. So he has to like back up for her to get in there. And then she just like sits there like this little troll. She's a perfect little troll, especially at night because you can only like see her eyes and like only see like the corner of her. And she's just staring at you. And you're just like, what? And she's just like, oh, hi, hello.
They don't sleep in the bed with you guys, right?
No, God, no.
They're too big. Lily sleeps in the bed.
Java will not move. And also because Justin is so big, they come to my side. And then I'm trapped because even though we have a king-size bed, that man flops like a fish, sleeps diagonal, and I get pinned and I can't move. So I'm always waking up. And also, you know, they turn into a 1,000-degree furnace when they're sleeping. So then I'm hot. It's a mess. I can't handle it.
I know. I have a 6'6" something that lays next to me every night and somehow gets on my side of the bed. All the sheets and stuff get pulled off the corners of the bed because he's rolled over so far onto my side. And I wake up just like sweating, like, oh my God.
I started taking pictures of him diagonal, like when he's like over 50% on my side. I started taking pictures in the morning, so I'm just like, let me show you what you do. I guess like, because somebody was like, you need a king-size bed. I'm like, we have one.
Yeah.
It doesn't help.
Yeah. He suggested the other day getting a new bed, and I think he called it, it wasn't a California. I think he called it an Alaskan king.
What?
And I was like, oh, what? And he's like, oh, babe, it's huge. It would be like the entire bedroom. I was like, oh, cool. Then what will we do with all the stuff that's already in the bedroom? Like the dressers or the nightstands.
It is
great. So our whole room is one big bed.
Mattress size guide. Oh, oh my God. It's 108 inches?
Which one?
Shut up. There's a California's calling me.
California king?
There is the king. There's a California king. Mm-hmm. There is the Wyoming king.
What?
And then the Alaska king.
So the California is longer than a king, right? Isn't it longer?
So a California is 72 by 84. A Wyoming is an 84 by an 84. I love how they show the pictures too, as like a guy, a girl, an infant, and a dog for the Wyoming king. And then for the Alaskan king is if you're into polygamy and you got 4 people on the bed. So it shows 4 full-size humans for 108 by 108.
It's a really big bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need it that big.
Get the Wyoming king.
I don't want anything named after a state.
I'm named after a state, you beehole.
You don't belong to me as a piece of furniture.
Okay, fine.
Okay. But still, 108 inches, that's like 9 feet.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't need a 9-foot bed.
Yeah, it is 9 feet. You're right. You're right on your mouth.
Yeah. That's just too big. Too much.
What did we say we were talking about today? Odd jobs?
Odd jobs, but we started talking about animals and humans.
Mattresses.
Mattresses.
I got a bed in a box. It's nice.
That's where you got yours? I was thinking about ordering one online.
Well, actually, it's Amazon, and I don't remember, but it's Amazon's bed in a box thing, whatever. I don't know. The man researches everything, and then he picks whatever. So we got that, and I don't feel him unless he is, within a foot proximity of me. But if he's flip flopping on his side, I don't feel him, and I like it. So, because before on a regular mattress with the springs and stuff, oh my god.
Well, that's what springs are for.
To bounce me around, yeah, for sure.
I just need one that takes away the heat because I get so hot at night. I don't know why. I wake up just boiling. And then I go check the AC and he's turned it down. He gets up and turns it down when we go to sleep. He turns it to 68.
That should be perfect.
That's like, you wake up in the morning, it's freezing in your house. 72 is like perfect for me. 68, like, ugh. Kill him. What?
He 75.
No, that's too hot.
Is what he does.
I can't. It's too warm. My house doesn't go above 74. But when we go to bed, I put it down at 72.
During the summer, you lucky if this house is under 80.
Nope. I would die. I would absolutely die.
Like if we're not here, I think I'm like 80% sure I remember correctly that it's like 78, 80 is what he keeps it at. And then when we're here, he drops it down to 75.
No, it's too warm. It's too warm for me. We live in Florida. I want to come from the outside and step into my home and be like, oh. Not like, oh, it's a couple of degrees less.
That man will walk around with like
I'm
no
not
shirt.
as sticky and have so much swamp ass. Like, no.
Just beat it up with sweat, not give a crap. And he's just like, what? It's fine. And I'm like,
no. I feel like it's like a thin film of just disgustingness. Like, it's just, I don't like that feeling.
He does not care.
As soon as I'm done working out, like, I have to take a shower. Like, I can't. Yeah. No. Especially, like, if, like, my sports bra gets, like, wet from sweat. Oh, that's, like, the worst. So gross to me. Nope. Not happening. Not today, Satan. Not today. So what were we supposed to talk about?
Odd jobs.
Odd jobs. First job was in high school. I worked for my aunt and uncle at a mortgage company. I used to be the person that would send out the letter that said, you're late on your payment.
Oh.
So like every day after school, I would leave cheerleading and walk across the street to my aunt and uncle's office and then do all of the letters, put them all in the envelopes, print them all up, stamp them, blah, 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 put them out for the postal service, and then they would take me home because we lived in the same neighborhood. So they were across the street from my high school, and that was before I was driving. So I would go do work, and then they would take me home. So it was perfect. And then, or in the summers, my uncle would take me because he owns a bunch of rental properties. So he would take me to go clean out the rentals when people would get evicted or if they moved out and didn't tell anyone because they were about to get evicted.
Ew.
My cousins and I would have to go in there and clean out all their stuff and get it ready for the next people to move in. And some of these people were absolutely disgusting.
I can't even imagine.
Like some people would pack up all their stuff. Like they would know that they were about to get evicted. So they would take all their stuff and just move out without telling anybody so that they couldn't get served papers. And then you had other people, that would just pretty much leave everything they didn't want, just leave it in the house. So it was all just junk.
Ew.
And leave like dirty stuff in there and leave dirty dishes and dirty food. No, nothing. It was so gross. I remember the one that was probably the worst was he bought a house. It was the gentleman had just passed away. The guy wasn't in it when we got it, but the guy that he bought the house from had just passed away. So he's like, hey, I bought this new property. We have to go in and clean it out. The gentleman passed away. The family sold it with everything inside as is. So we need to clear it out. So he rented one of those huge, like city-sized dumpsters. And my cousins and I, his two boys, we went over there and he's like, all right, I'm going to drop you off. You guys clean out the house. I'll be back later for lunch. And we were like, wait, you're leaving us here? There was no electricity in this house because they'd already turned everything off. So it's like the middle of summer in Florida. It was over in Rockledge. So you know it's super hot. It was in Rockledge. There's no AC. So you can't even turn a fan on because there's no electricity.
Oh my God.
And the guy that we were cleaning out the house was from the Great Depression. So he saved like everything. Literally had a box of stamps from letters that he had strategically ripped off and put inside a box to try to use them again later or something.
What?
But like
It brings a whole new meaning to the forever stamp.
Literally every corner of that house just was like tons and tons of stuff. Like his entire kitchen was like, he had like one little stack of plates, but then it was like all jarred food, like canned stuff that he had canned himself, like in the mason jars, all canned food. And then you go into his laundry room and there was the washer and dryer and then more canned food and then more stuff to can. And then you go in his closet in his bedroom and it was like every piece of mail he had ever been sent in his life was like, it was just like bunches and bunches and bunches of paper. So every time you opened,
fire hazard waiting to happen.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I was like, so it was like, it smelled like old stuff, you know, just like dusty, and there was no airflow. So we're like opening up windows. We're like, oh my God, we're gonna die here. Yeah. Like it was terrible. We filled the entire city dumpster, and then we had to stop because we had already filled it, and there was nowhere else to put stuff, and we were not even halfway through the house. And so my uncle had to like, okay, well, we'll go home early today, but we're gonna show up early tomorrow, and there's gonna be another dumpster out here. I'm like, oh my dear sweet God, why was I born into a family with no boys? Because like my uncle had 2 boys, but in my family it's all girls. So my stepdad was like, oh no, you got no brothers, you're just gonna have to do all the yard work and go help your uncle and do this and that. And I'm like, mother F.
My first job was at Things Remembered.
Really?
Yeah. I was an engraver at like right before, well, it was like pretty much my 16th birthday. That was before when you could work at 16, because I don't know, things have changed now, I think, and you can't work till you're freaking 18. So I was an engraver, and I was there, I don't remember how long I was there, but I got up to one of like the highest levels of engraving. And
there's levels to this.
Yeah. I think it was level 5. I think it was what it was. And that means, because like you could do, if you were level 5, you could do glass, and you could do arc engraving and stuff, like circle stuff or whatever.
So what if someone came in for something like that, but that level of person wasn't working that day?
It had to wait. Like usually the manager was always like a level 5 so that they could do everything. So it would have to wait until like a manager was there. I mean, the turnaround time, it depended. Like the turnaround time, if you could do it, you know, you'd say like an hour or something like that. If it was a custom item that was brought in, it was always, I think, 3 days, because if anybody screwed it up by chance, I always like had panic attacks when it came to items that had been brought in, like they bought it somewhere else and then made us engrave it, because if you screw it up, then you have to replace it. So that always just like panicked me. I was always like, oh no. But I did that, and then there are two stories from that. I requested off for Halloween, and I had sent this request in like a month before or something, kind of thing like that. And they said no. And my mom was like, well, if you really want to, you know, not go or something like that, then you can tell them, you know, your grandma died. And I was like,
you want me to lie?
Turns out my grandma was alive and I didn't know about, and she actually did die. I didn't know that they were alive this entire time because my mom did not have a good relationship with them at all. So I thought they had died a long time ago. Nope. She talked about them like they were always dead. So I was always like, they're not alive. And then she was like, no, they are. And I was like, what?
Oh.
Because then, you know, I said that my grandma died, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They wanted a brochure from the funeral. And my mom was like, no, absolutely not. Like, that's crossing the line kind of thing is how she kind of felt. so I think I put in my 2 weeks then or something like that. And then the HR like called and they're like, well, we don't understand why you won't just offer this up. And I'm like, what? Because at that time, I mean, I've heard of it now, but like back then, so 16 years ago, it's kind of like, so it was very just like, so quit that job. And then I I was working, I think, at FYE, yeah, something like that, because I could just jump from one spot to the other spot, and it was during seasonal time, so they knew that I was an engraver before. And they were like, hey, holidays, do you want to come in? And I was like, all right, sure. And I was supposed to come at a certain time on a Sunday, and I had just gotten my first tattoo, which are my guns on my hips, and that was like 3 hours long, and I was wiped out. I didn't know back then, how wiped out you would get from tattooing. So I completely, like, I was late, and the mall had like closed basically, and like they were closed, but then the manager kind of wouldn't talk to me like through the gate or anything. They're like, I called to tell them, like, hey, I'm sorry I'm running late, blah, blah, blah. And they said it was fine, but then I got there and then it was like super passive aggressive, and I'm like, and then I don't know what happened. They still let me work there for seasonal, but then I don't think that they liked that I tape tested everything because I was so paranoid about screwing it up. So what you could do with a tape test is that you could put a pin insert where it would engrave just to make sure that everything like was lined up, it looked good, whatever. So I kind of did that for almost everything because I was just so paranoid about it. Because if you screw it up, well, then that's merchandise lost and all that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. Marks against you, too. So I would pretty much, but that was too slow. Like, it was like, it made me slow or whatever. So,
yeah, but being cautious is better than, okay, whatever. I'm not the manager. I don't know.
I mean, they're bankrupt now for a reason.
Yeah, all of them are closed now, right?
Not all of them. I think there are like a couple that are still out there, but like I went to, because I wanted to get Justin an engraved pin for his first house sold, and I went to one of the malls in Orlando and it wasn't there, and ours is gone in both Melbourne and Merritt Island, so those were all gone, and I was like, crap. So, and then someone ended up stealing his pin anyway, so I was like, oh, great.
Cool, I just got that made for you. Awesome.
Yeah.
So FYE was your second job?
No, it was a pet store. I was at Pet Supermarket for 2.5 years.
Oh.
And my favorite part about that was all the old ladies that would go, I need a 40-pound bag of dog food. Do you want to go get one of the boys? And I'm like, no, I don't. I'll carry it for you. Oh, don't do that. You'll hurt yourself. Shut up. So I was also kind of the bird whisperer because you get new animals in and stuff, and they're all like, ooh. So I would always try to get them familiar with people and stuff, especially like cockatiels, because those were cheaper than like the conures or the Quakers or anything like that. But it made me like really want a bird myself, so I'm really excited about the chickens. But the conures, there was one conure, it was a sun conure. That thing was a jerk and a half. And the worst part was it's pretty much, people train these guys. So it knew like if it came at you and it bit your fingers like through the cage and stuff, like you'd go away. So nobody could put their hands like near the cage to even try to like coax it or nope, it just bite the crap out of you. And then when you're changing water and stuff, you had to be careful because it figured out like the door goes up, I can get out. And there was one time where somebody didn't like lock it and it figured out how to get out and it got itself out. It was out of this, flying around the store like the entire day and stuff. And finally came back like towards the end of the night, but it was like scary because like the doors would open and stuff and everyone was like on guard watching the doors trying to make sure that this thing didn't fly out. This, $200-300 birds and just like boom. So, and then there was, sweet little conures, and then there was a Quaker, and a Quaker is a little bit bigger than a conure. So that one had me scared because I'm like, oh, bigger bird, bigger beak. But hamsters are absolutely disgusting. They reproduce like crazy. They'll also eat each other and their babies. That's disgusting. Oh,
Do they
100%.
eat the babies? Do they eat the babies if they know there's something wrong with them, or just because they're hungry?
The males, usually, we'd have to separate the males because they would just eat them. It was so bad because like you change everybody's bedding in the morning. You'd be like, oh no, not touching it. No, not touching it. And teddy bear hamsters are black. They're like full black. They look like a little bear. But they have the biggest cojones of any animal I've ever seen.
All right,
Is
random
bad.
fact of the day.
Yeah, ferrets absolutely stink.
I hate ferrets. My stepmom growing up had ferrets, and she would let them run around the house. So you would be in the living room, like watching TV, and all of a sudden it would just like pop out from underneath the couch and onto you. And just, oh, well, they smell, they're gross. No. No.
The fish were like kind of okay. There was one time this one guy and I, we were working and like a cricket had escaped. That was one thing too to get used to with the crickets and trying to get the crickets and stuff. But a cricket had like got out or something and we caught it. We felt like murderers afterwards because we were just like, we willingly did that. We took it to the Oscars and dropped it in the Oscar team. And they were just like, nice. And we were just like, oh, we just let that happen. Like, oh. And then when the fair would come to town, you always knew when the fair was in town because the carnies would come for the goldfish.
Yeah.
Like, I need 100 goldfish. And we're like, oh, there's fair. There's got to be a fair. So that was fun.
I never thought about them going to an actual store and getting them. I just always assumed they always had them.
Nope, they come to the like local pet store and find them. And there was one time where I got kind of known to like not take naps, but like crawl up in the bays where all the dog food is up on top and just kind of hang out
on top of the bags.
And then we were doing cool downs, and I thought the guy was ready, so I just like pushed a 20-pound bag of food off the top. He was not ready. I dropped it completely on him because I heard him. He was just like, oh, and I like looked over, and then he's just like, ah, and I'm like, were you not ready? Oops.
So talk about naps. I used to work at LA Fitness. That was my first official job, like where I had to pay taxes and stuff. I was a senior in high school, and when I went to college the following year, I asked to switch my shift so that I could get to class and have somewhat of a life. So I became the opener. So I had to get there at 4:45 in the morning to open by 5, be out of work by 10 to get to class and like do a full day's worth of class and then go do homework and blah, blah, blah. Well, I was in college, so I partied a lot. So sometimes I would like, because I have the front door keys, I would get to LA Fitness after going downtown. So I'd get to LA at like 2:30 in the morning and go in the kids club and stack the mats that they have for like nap time and take a nap in the kids club because it was the darkest place in the whole building because the lights didn't turn on until 11 a.m. when they opened. So I'd go in there and take a nap, and the cleaning lady would get there at 4:45 a.m. Her name was Maria. She would get there at 4:45. She also had a key, and she would see my car, and she would walk in, and she'd go in the kids club, and she would just gently, Vanessa, it's time to open, okay? And I'd be like, oh, okay. And I'd start to get up, and if like she could tell I'd been drinking, she'd be like, do you know what? You make a note. I'm just gonna stick it on the counter. Say, be back in 5 minutes. And she would put the little like check-in thing, the scanner, on the counter with the note in my handwriting. Put the note on it, and if somebody asked her where I was, she'd be like, oh, she's not feeling good. She's in the bathroom. She'll be back in 5 minutes. And I'd be sleeping it off in the kids club.
Oh my God. I was never that bad, but I did start sticking notes. Like I'd crawl up there and I'd stick notes on the thingy because at the front register, you could see all 4 like cameras. So like there was one day we were messing with our manager real bad. She was getting pissed. And so I would like come in from one camera and I'd be like, hello, please.
I can
And
totally
just
see you
like
doing that.
disappear kind of thing. And but I challenged how I got spicy when I was like 19, 20, and I challenged one of the
You
assistant
spicy?
managers.
No way.
I was very strong-willed about the rules and the fact that like somebody else would do what I did and I'd get in trouble and like they wouldn't. And I'm like, so this one manager was texting and caught him several times. And at first it kind of came out like a joke, but then like I got in trouble for it. I'd be like, "Are you supposed to be on your phone?" And he's just like, "I'm a manager." And I'm like, "Okay, are you supposed to be on your phone?"
I feel
And
like I just watched a TikTok.
huh?
I feel like I just watched a TikTok.
Oh, I would get so, and then there's like, and it was like, I felt like we had this like, because I called him out, he started getting agitated with me because there was one time where you weren't allowed to leave the cash register if you were main. So if you were main, you were basically trapped in the island. And it was like nighttime and they had secret shoppers that would come through and they had a set list of questions they had to ask, blah blah blah, and like had to check off certain things, all sorts of stuff. So you never know who was a shopper. You kind of picked up on it if they were said, I just got a new puppy or I got a new kitten, what do I need, kind of thing. And we had certain things we had to push and all that sort of stuff. Well, nobody was available. Like it was nighttime, they were probably outside doing trash or something. She was the only one in there. I had come out from behind the counter and I could see the register like in view, but I was like on the leash wall and I was helping her. He freaking comes out of an aisle, like rears his head around and he's like, "Are you supposed to be on Main? You're not supposed to leave Main. You're not supposed to leave in front of this lady." And I'm just like looking at him with like a seething hatred of just like, you're doing this right now. You're gonna do this right now? We're gonna do this right now. And he's like, "You need to get back." And it was all in front of this lady. And I was so internally just like, "Rah!" just boiling with him. And I mean, now we're friends. Now we laugh about it and stuff because he's like, "Man, you were so strong-willed." I'm like, "Yeah, because you did the same stuff, and then I get in trouble for it, and I couldn't help but call you out." So
Because you're a dick.
yeah, I got fired from that job.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was
I remember.
the first. That was the first place I got fired from, and I'd always chapped my head real good because I didn't do the same thing 3 times. But I did. I got written up for one time for on a secret shopper because if you basically missed like 2 or 3 things, you failed. And it was myself and the manager on the same secret shopper, so we both failed. But then I got the boot, and I was just like, it took me a long time before I could go back into that store because I was so mad at everybody because I'm just like, this isn't fair. So
The only place I ever got fired from was a barbecue place because it was so dumb. And I think it's still funny, but my best friend at the time had just broken up with this guy that she had dated for, I don't know, like a year or so. And his sister came in for lunch because Leah and I worked at the restaurant. So she came in to try to start something with Leah because we were the only two working lunch shift because Leah had just broken up with her boyfriend or her brother like the day or two before. So this girl comes in, requests to sit in Leah's section, requests her as a server. And Leah was like, she goes up to the manager because the manager knew everything that was going on. And she's like, you're not going to make me serve them, right? Like, Vanessa can take them. Like, I don't want to serve their table. Like, I know why she's here. She's been texting me nasty, dirty stuff, like calling me all kinds of names because I broke up with her brother. Like, I don't want to be their server. He's like, well, she's requesting you. She's like, yeah, she's requesting me because she wants to ream me out. Like, I don't want to do it.
oh my god.
So I was like, it's not a big deal. Just let me take the table. I know them. I don't have a problem with them. I didn't break up with their brother. Like, whatever. So like I go over to the table and I'm being super friendly and I'm like, oh, hey guys, how are you? Like, what can I get you? Oh my gosh. They started ordering well, they want this plate with this drink, and then I bring it to the table when it's ready. Oh, well, this isn't what I thought it would be. Now I want this with this totally different drink. So I ended up bringing 6 different sodas to the table.
Oh my God.
And then they switched out the plates like 4 different times. First they wanted baby back ribs. Then they switched it to pulled pork. Then they wanted chicken. Then they wanted something else. And I was like, each time I'm just like looking at them like, okay, I'll be right back with that. Go and tell the manager. And he's like, again? I'm like, yeah, apparently this isn't what they originally wanted. And he's like, you're ringing this incorrectly, right? I'm like, would you like to go take the order? Like, they're doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
So like super just wonderful. And then they paid me with $100 bill, and I brought the change back, and they left me a penny, and on the receipt told me not to spend it all in one place. So
Ooh.
I took the penny.
Ooh.
I took that little copper piece, and I walked out in the parking lot, and I handed it to her and told her she needed it more than I did, and to never show her face around here again. And I walked back in, and she came in and was like, I want to speak to your manager. And he was like, oh, he like calmed her down, and he didn't do anything about it. Like, he didn't say anything to me. And he was like, I know they were being just, I know how they were. I saw it, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about it. Well, the following day, the general manager, who was a female, who had already like ripped someone a new one in the middle of the restaurant in front of people before, it was her next day. So she came into work, and I was working, and she called me into the office and was like, I got a phone call this morning from this girl that says that you gave her change back, that she tipped you. And I was like, yeah. And she was like so just distraught and was like, well, tell me what happened, because she says that you told her she can't come around here anymore. And I was like, yeah, I told her not to come back. Like, I know why she's here. She's here because Leah broke up with her brother. I was like, so I told her not to come back. She's like, you cannot tell people that they cannot come back to a restaurant. I'm like, yeah, I can. I did. She was
Oh
like,
my God.
she's like, no, you can't. They are always welcome here. I'm like, not when I'm working.
So a story about like leaving tip and stuff. So when we were young and dumb at like, I don't know, 16, 17, these 2 girlfriends and I, and then the secret boyfriend that I wasn't supposed to have that I had, and his friend, the girls and I went to Fridays when we still had a Fridays on the island. And my sister actually worked there at the time. She wasn't working that night. And the girls that I went with, like, I don't know how to say it politely, but they lived on the nicer side of town, so they acted a certain way. And she shorted us 7 cents. The waitress gave our change back, but she shorted us by 7 cents. And the girl picked up on it, and she was like, she shorted us by 7 cents. And I was just like, okay, like, oh, that sucks. Like, it's 7 cents kind of thing. And they were like, no, she's gonna know. What did they do? They took your little book thing, and I've never worked in restaurants, so yeah.
It's called a check presenter.
Okay, that thing. And somebody had pasta, and they took noodles, and they said, you owe 7 cents with pasta on her thingamabob. And I was like, oh my God, we have to go. Oh my God, we need to go. So, they thought it was like the funniest thing, and I'm just like, oh my God. So then my boyfriend at the time and his friend like met us up there, and like we're being like dumb idiots, like right outside the door and stuff and goofing around or whatever. Well, she comes charging out, and she was like, thanks so much for the tip, blah, 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 kind of thing. And like, I'm pretty sure, she tried to tell us not to come back or anything. I had to like text my sister and warn her like what happened, and I'm sorry, and please, I hope you don't get in trouble because it was me kind of thing. And I was just like, ooh. Ooh.
Don't mess with the people who have your food.
Yeah, and then too, like work with my sister. But I think my sister was like, oh, she should have given you your change back anyway. And I was just like, I don't know. But and then, let's see, after the pet store, I worked at FYE,
Mm-hmm.
and FYE was a competitive environment because you battled for your hours. So if you sold the things that you were supposed to sell, like when you're at the register, like the VIP membership, or get people to get magazine subscriptions or whatever, like you got your hours. And I was right smack before holiday season because it was in November. I remember it vividly. And it was prime time, fight for your hours kind of thing. So I felt like I had to show everybody, like, I can do it. I'm new, but I can do it. So I did really good. And Black Friday, I'll never forget, I stayed at my cash register for 4 solid hours, like literally until it was my time to take a break. I was up there. Hi. I even stood on boxes of bags because I was so short, and I was like the last one, so nobody could see me. So because I kept having I'm like, hi, I'm over here. And so I stood on these boxes so people could see me, and that was awful. But I was there because they were like, how do you do it? Because I'm like, do you want a VIP card? And the guy's just like, yeah. I'm like, all right, here you go. And I circle like what he had to do. I'm like, what magazine subscription? And he's like, I'll take that one, that one, that one. Then they're just like, I'm like, give me my 35 hours, please. Thank you. So I worked there, and then I was like, I'm like, all right, let's get on the money hustle thing. 21 now, kind of need to start like making money and saving and stuff. And that's when I found my flower job. I was searching Craigslist, and it said flower designer. And I was like, I know colors, I could do that. So I applied, and I had said too, because there was another girl that worked at FYE, and she had 2 jobs, and I was like, I could do 2 jobs kind of thing, whatever. So I said, I let them know, like, hey, I'm like gonna apply for another job. So I got in with Amanda. She asked me for an interview she's like, do you do any kind of art? And I was like, yeah. At the time, I was going through a black and white phase. So all my paintings were black and gray. So I came in real proud of my black and gray, not even thinking like I should have brought color or something like that. So I still have them too. Oh, I think I know exactly where they are. I could grab them. And I got the job, and then I told the manager had given me a certain day off because it was her wedding, because she invited me to the wedding. That got revoked. I got told, you might as well put in your 2-week notice. And I was like, oh, this is how we do it? All right, that's cool. So I put in my 2-week notice. They pulled right to work and let me go after like a day or 2 or something like that. I don't even know. They didn't let me work my full 2 weeks. So, and then I've never stepped foot in that FYE ever again because she's still there to this day.
They're all closed.
No, not Merritt Island. That thing is still there.
Really?
Yeah, that's still.
They're all closed over here.
It's crazy because I was there when like CDs and DVDs were the thing, and Blu-ray, like, because we have the ships here on Saturdays and like Monday, Tuesdays, you knew it was going to be a good day because all the cruise ship people would be coming in, the crew members, to restock for movies, like while they're out and everything like that, because there was a buyback program too, so we could buy back everything, and then they get like the newest Blu-ray or the newest like deep movies that had come out. So it would be good days to sell. But yeah, I never stepped foot back in there because that manager scared me.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of, let's see, I did LA Fitness, Sunny's Barbecue, Macaroni Grill. Macaroni Grill, I was the kitchen manager, so I was the HBIC in the kitchen. I used to work at Planet Hollywood down by Disney. I was a server, bartender, and then I actually, because I was in culinary school, went and worked in the kitchen after doing bartending, which was a pay cut, but I didn't have to deal with people. So I did that, and then I left there, went to work for another mortgage place that was not owned by my aunt and uncle. And then while I was working there is when I took my trip to Chicago to go visit friends. And when I came back, I was like, I'm moving. Bye. And within a month, I sold everything in my apartment, re-rented my apartment, so I subleased it, and packed my car and took Lily and went to Chicago. And I was there for 2 years. And when I got there, I didn't know anybody except for my 2 friends from high school, which were 2 guys that lived together. So I slept on the couch for a couple of weeks till I actually found a place to live by myself. And I got a job bartending at a specialty cocktail lounge. So we made like all these crazy drinks. One of the drinks had like whipped egg whites in it. Like you had to literally crack the egg in front of the client, crack the egg in front of them, separate the egg yolk and the whites, put it in the shaker with the whisk that you would make a martini with, and shake it until it whipped into a foam, and then top the martini with the egg white. It was ridiculous. Like these are like every single drink on that menu. I have the menu somewhere. It's in a filing cabinet. Every drink on the menu took a couple of minutes to make. It wasn't like shake, 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 just mix, mix, mix. There was like layers to everything, and everything had like specialty instruction. It was ridiculous. So everything was like super specialty cocktail. And while I worked there is when I applied to be a GM at a sports bar, because I did not want to do specialty cocktails anymore. I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. So like the drinks are really good, but you would have it's Chicago. Like everybody goes out to bars like every day after work. You're just like, hey, I'll meet you at the bar across the street from our house. We'll catch a drink and then go home. Like that's like every night is like your nightcap. So you would have a bar full of people, and every drink on the menu takes 5 minutes to make. So you have people staring at you like, okay, where's my drink? Are you done with it yet? It's like, it was crazy. So then I went and worked at
I'll get a ling ling, please.
Yeah. Then I went so I got the job as a GM for the sports bar. It was called Jack and Ginger's, which is actually my favorite drink. And during my interview, Scotty, the owner, I love him to death. He was like, he's asking me questions, being all serious and stuff. And then he said, so do you drink? And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, I'm a bartender. Like, what do you mean, do I drink? Like, why would I be serving alcohol if I was sober? And he was like, do you want to do a shot? And I look around the bar, and I was like, are you doing a shot? And he's like, good girl. He's like, I don't trust people who won't drink. I was like, all right, well, let's do it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was like, I'll do a shot if you will, but I'm not going to sit here and pound them back by myself.
Right.
So he got us shots of Jameson, and we finished out the interview with the other owner. So it was me and the 2 owners, and we were just sitting there just chatting and doing shots. And then I got the job.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
it was great.
Nothing like that.
I was like, wait, what? Is this real life? It was awesome. Dang. And then when I moved back to Florida is when I started my business. So I've been bartending all over the place.
After Amanda had to close the studio, that's when I went to the tattoo studio. That is like an episode all on its own, those 3 years of craziness and of clients and the guys and everything. And I have a plethora of stories there. The time they shot simunition at each other because one of the gun guy clients came and was like, hey, you guys want to shoot each other? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. Or when we made a beer bong out of PVC pipe and a cut up 2-liter, the drunk clients that would come over from Sandbar because it was literally walking distance, and we were always like, no, sorry, we're closed. And like, but you're tattooing right now. I'm like, it's okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter that it's 7:30 and we close at 9 technically, but you're really drunk, so no. Yeah, there are a bajillion stories there. But then after I left there, I went to another flower place and learned like having one phone for everything. And I was like, that's the one thing I took away out of that. And also how to not treat people. So I was never very fond of the fact that like she saw my tattoos and was like, ew. Like I had to wear like elbow length shirts all the time, even though I was in the back. And then that was also the worst part is like, it was like a dungeon. There were no windows like back where I was. It was just like these gross colored painted walls. and I felt like a little hermit, like I couldn't see the sun. I'm like, hello, what is it like outside? And that sucked. So I got out of there. I went to Michael's for a while, and I was a framer, and I was in the framing department, so I was never really like sales floor, but I was a cashier, so I could do both. But then they switched me to like 5 a.m. crew, and your girl doesn't wake up that early. So I struggled real hard with that for a while because it required me waking up at like 4 to just even wake up enough to drive to leave by like 4:30 to get there on time. It was awful. And I left there, and then I went to Home Depot, and that was fun for the most part. It sucked because, like anything with a hardware store, heaven forbid you wear any form-fitting clothing.
Yeah. Well, you were working at Home Depot when I met you.
Yeah, guys are awful because I started my business in the summer after the one crappy flower place. Because I was like, I told her, I was like, I'm using this as an internship to kind of figure out how I want to do things or whatever. So, hi Lily.
My sister's here.
Oh. I started in July because I quit there like June or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I went to Home Depot, and the Christmas tree tent was probably my favorite part about all that. It sucked on the days that you did it by yourself, but it was fun being able to be like, I got a chainsaw and
I'm in here, Tay. We're recording.
hauling giant trees and stuff, and be like, yeah, I'm tiny. You want a 7 foot? All right. You want an 9 foot? All right.
Say hi.
Hello. Hello.
That's my little sister. Don't we look alike?
So.
Yeah, just be in the living room. I'll be right there.
But yeah, Home Depot was fun. I got to learn how to drive forklifts and the reach truck, and the reach truck was scary. I was thinking randomly for some reason about the one time that I almost let a pallet come crashing down because somebody put a broken pallet up on the rafter dealio thingies, and I was moving pallets or something like that, and because you're always trying to make room for stuff.
Yeah.
So I was taking the pallet off, and I didn't realize it was broken, and it was like sliding off of the forks, and because I was trying to back up. So then when I looked up, and it's like barely hanging on to the forks and like the rafter, and I'm like, and I texted the other closer that was in garden with me. I'm like, I need you now, because he was great at doing forklift stuff and everything. So he coached me on putting back this broken pallet, and like, you know, instead of having all this merchandise come flying off the shelf and like breaking and stuff. Of course, there's cameras everywhere. So
those are the videos you see on like Facebook and Instagram of people in warehouses that they're I'm just gonna pull this one little Jenga piece, and then everything just like.
Had it fallen, like I would have been on there 100%. And there was another time I came whipping around the corner because the reach trucks are the scariest thing. They're so sensitive. Forklifts, big old bulky thing, but those reach trucks are so sensitive. And I whipped it too fast, so when I stopped, I slammed into the aisle with all of the like chandelier things. I was just like,
oh my God,
watching it, and I'm like, we're gonna go real slow from here on out.
I never did retail. I always did restaurants, bars, mortgage places. I worked at a gay bar.
Oh.
Yeah. Those guys are so fun. Oh my gosh. I worked there for a year and a half. I opened it, and then the owners had to file bankruptcy. That's why we stopped working there. So nobody got fired. We got laid off because they ran out of money because they spent a lot making this place. And like this place was like the spot to go. Like it was so cool. But they spent way too much money way too quickly. So they ran out of money.
Oh, that sucks.
But that was like the funnest place. And that was one of those places that like all the employees on their days off would still hang out. Like We were excited to go to work because our friends were there, and then we were excited to have a day off because we were still going to go to work to hang out with our friends, but we were going to be the customers and we were going to drink.
Oh my
That's what
gosh.
we were doing. But it was a good place to work. But yeah. So it was always like restaurants, bars. I did a lot of bartending. But I mean, it got me through college where I didn't have to pay any loans. I never took out a loan. I paid everything cash. So I went through school without having to ask for money, and I came out debt free. So I can't.
Not me. I did get one big girl job. I wish I would have got this big girl job like when I was 18 kind of thing, because it was $15 an hour, and that was at the air conditioning place that I was at, and that was my office job. And like I had always I've never had an office job, and I always wanted to see what an office job was like, and then I was like, oh, okay, all right, but I'm getting paid $15 an hour. All right.
That was like, I used to work, oh God, there's so many little jobs in between. Cause I always had more than one job, like through school. I always had at least 2 jobs so that if one didn't work out, I had a backup. So I did work for Seminole County. I worked for their parks and recreation. So I was the person at the parks that do soccer fields, the big soccer fields and the big softball and baseball fields. I was the person in the big tower renting out the different leagues and stuff and collecting the money, and then also setting up the lessons for the private instructors that we had. So I was the person in charge of all the parks. And then another odd job that I had was, as I was about to tell you, I forgot.
The one thing about Home Depot too is that I worked nights.
What else did I work?
So I worked 6 p.m. to midnight usually.
Oh, I remember now. Because when you said midnight, when
that
I first
sucked.
when I first moved to Chicago, this is another odd job. When I first moved to Chicago, when I was working at the first bar that I worked at with all the crazy cocktails on my days off, I worked for a marketing company that sold cigarettes. So I didn't sell cigarettes. I was a person that would go bar hopping and talk to people that were outside smoking and ask them a survey and then give them a coupon that they could go to the local gas station or supermarket and get a free pack. That was me.
Promoting cancer. Oh.
So as a person that's moving to a city that you don't know, it was great because I got to meet every bartender at every bar, because that's your route as your marketing route. They give you a route of 6 different places that you have to hit within the night. And then you have like that little computer thing that you like enter in all their information, you know? So it was great because I learned 6 different places every time I worked. I learned 6 new bars. I met 6 new bartenders, because you go and introduce yourself and then you ask like, hey, are there any people here that like are smokers, or you know personally that want a free pack or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
So you get to know the city layout, so you get to like navigate and you get to learn like, oh cool, so this street crosses over with that street. So like it helped me learn the city so quickly, and then I met so many people in the process. So it was like awesome. I got paid $18 an hour, and that was back in 2013. $18 an hour. And I had just moved there. So I was like, sweet, I have a job that pays me $18 an hour and it's helping me socialize. Winning.
Dang.
Yeah, another just random job that I don't even know how I fell into it, but it helped. It was great.
I heard so many bad things about restaurant work is why I stayed away from it. Because I was just like, no, I can't do it. No. Because I wouldn't be able to deal with people and be like, this is wrong. Or just attitudes in general and stuff, even though I worked retail. But
well, that's why the back of the house, which is the kitchen people, are so different than the front of the house people. The back of the house people, the kitchen staff, they can't deal with that. Like they'll argue with the server. When you bring it back and you're like, they said they didn't want cheese, and you're like, oh really? Here's the slip that you rang in that says extra cheese. So you're the one who messed it up, not me. Like they get into arguments and it is hilarious. Sometimes not hilarious, but the place that if you're not like, what do you call it? Like customer service forward, where you don't want to deal with the BS of people complaining about things that they shouldn't be complaining about, the back of the house. Because I've had to walk out to tables before, because I was a manager, walk out to tables before where someone has eaten 95% of the things on their plate and they hand it to me disgruntled and tell me that it was terrible.
oh my god.
Oh, Cool. So why is it that the only thing left on this steak plate is the bone, but you're telling me that you hated it and want a full refund? If it was so terrible, why did you eat the whole damn thing?
Yeah, Justin did. He was a cook for 5 years. So, but he would go in like he would go do the produce route. So he would drive to Tampa. There's something, ugh, Tampa in general. I can't
St.
remember.
Pete?
Plant City.
Oh, I mean, it's on the way, kind of. Anyways.
He would go there to get the produce, and he would leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning to go there to get back to process, cook, and stuff like that, and like be done by like 10 kind of thing. And that was when we very first started dating too. So we would like be out till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then he would get like an hour and a half, 2 hour nap, and then have to get up and go. And I felt so bad before, so it's like.
I think about the crazy schedules that we carried on like that when we were younger, and I think if I tried to do that now, I would probably die.
Oh my gosh, staying up past midnight? What is that?
I'm sorry, you want me to stay out till 2 and be to work at 5? 2 p.m.? What does that mean?
And I had those nights where I'd go to Cowboys, stay until last call, and so 2 o'clock in the morning, and then have an hour drive back, and then be on, because that was Thursday nights, and I specifically asked to be on Fridays for the opening crew because you got out at like 2 or 3 o'clock or whatever. That was 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I just got home at like 3 o'clock. And I'd want to kill myself, but I'd still have the energy. Now, no, my watch says that I need 8 hours of sleep, please.
No.
Oof.
Nope. I got sick, and my roommate Dawn called my work and told them I wasn't coming because I needed to sleep. And my boss knew Dawn. She was actually friends with her and was like, yeah, she looked pretty bad yesterday at work. I agree.
Oh my God.
I had come home from work and I was like exhausted. Like I had like, it was purplish blue under my eyes, exhaustion. And I had stayed up for like 2 days straight. And all I was drinking was Monsters.
Oh.
And I walked in from work. So open up at LA, 5 a.m. I would go to school and then I would go work for Seminole County and they close at 8. Well, then I would be like, oh, but I didn't get to see my friends today. So then I would go out and then be back to work at 5 a.m. Like it was terrible. It was so bad for my health. So there's this pill, it's called No-Dose, and it's straight caffeine.
I know what that is.
So I was taking No-Dose and drinking Monsters. And
How did you not have a heart attack and die?
I probably would have if Dawn didn't make me go to sleep. So I came home from school and I was getting ready to go to work and she was like, no, ma'am. She's like, you look terrible. She's like, get in your room. She was a mom. Like I lived with her and her 2 kids. She was a single mom. So she was like, no. She's like, go to your room, go to sleep, and do not come out until you are fully rested. She's like, I will call your jobs and let them know what's going on. And I was like, I'm fine. And she's like, no, you're not. She's like, do you see yourself? I was like, Dawn, it's fine. Like, I know you're being like mom, but like, I'm fine. And she was like, no. So she sent me to bed. She called my bosses, talked to them. They knew her. So they were like, oh no, totally get it. Like, you tell her just whenever she's ready to come back, she can come back. Cause I'd already been working there at that point for over 2 years. And I'd never taken days off, like ever. I slept for 2 days straight. Like I got up once to pee and don't even remember getting up to pee.
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, there's a thing called overdosing on caffeine and needing sleep. You did it. She's like, I don't know how you're still alive. I was like, well, I feel really good now. It was terrible. Oh my gosh. It was so bad. And now if I have too much caffeine, like I can feel it like in my bones and stuff. Like it just gets achy.
Awful. You're just like literally just like
It's such a bad feeling. And I'm like, yep, okay. So I totally abused this when I was younger.
Yeah, because then it's like, all right, better enjoy this ride. We're gonna come down sooner or later.
It was really bad.
Well, I believe that was a good one.
This is good. Did you stop?
Nope, not yet. Because if we say hi, we gotta say bye.
Oh, we gotta say bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
so we
Bye,
gotta
Felicia.
we gotta say bye for next time.
I look tanner than you today.
Yeah, go away. I'll make you go away.
Weird.
Bye.
Weird. Bye.